Today, salt and water balance in the body is a very basic subject. It's more to do with physiology, how the body works, and I will try my best to make it more clinical so that we all understand the language. I tried to make it as simple as I could. It's a very complicated subject. So bear with me. Just follow this sequence. This will help a lot. Just follow this sequence the way I'm going to present. It might help. Now, the topic covers basic information how the water balance, salt and water balance is done by the body. And I would like to stress the importance of how the body adapts to the whole salt and water balance. And the next thing, the misconceptions about salt and water intake. What does the swelling of feet, face, or the other parts of the body mean? Now, since the circular went out, I got a request to say a few words. What does low salt mean? What does high salt mean, which I'll try to cover it. When we talk about salt, we take about only, I'm going to talk about table salt, not any other salt, but we'll discuss that during our question answer period. What is table salt? Is sodium chloride, basic chemistry, and it has a molecular weight. Na stands for sodium, it has molecular weight of 23, and chloride, Cl, the molecular weight is 35.5. So the total weight is 58.5. Now why I'm mentioning this is very relevant. You can figure it out yourself. Of the total sodium chloride, how much is sodium? About 40%. Now just remember this. When we talk about sodium, when we talk about salt, they are two different things. So please remember this. Sodium and sodium chloride, two different things, obviously. And so when I say this in later on, so just remember, we talked about the molecular weight. So purely and simply, we are talking about table salt. The most important function, what the salt does, physiology, function, it maintains your blood volume. How much blood you have in your system. Now you must be wondering, what is the relationship of salt with blood? And I'll explain that to you as we go along. And if you maintain the blood volume, you maintain a very important part, the blood pressure. You cannot maintain blood pressure without blood volume, and you cannot maintain blood volume without salt. So, and I'll explain to you as we go along. What else does the salt do? Is something good. Salt does a lot of good things. Our nervous system, all the impulses that travel it is dependent on salt. Nothing will work if there is no salt as far as brain is concerned. So it's a very important part. Another thing, muscles in the body will not contract and relax without salt. And I'll explain to you later on. This is pure physiology. To understand this, I think we have to go back to again something you may have heard of it, but I think you should know. If you can grasp this concept, which I'm going to explain, you got most of it. Now this side, I have written cell with that circle here. This is our lifeline. Everything works from the cell. Brain cell, heart cell, kidney cell, any cell. That's the compartment written there, cell. In between there is a space, empty space. There's a name for it, I will not go into that. But this is the one, blood compartment, blood vessels, where the blood circulates. So when you talk about blood volume, we are talking about, for a moment, this compartment, where the blood is. Now what the blood does and what is in it, I'll explain that to you later on, is the most important thing. Now what is in the blood compartment? How much blood do we have? 5 liters. It's red. If I take the red part out, of blood, what is left? Anybody?
Water. Plasma.
Plasma. And plasma is yellow. Take the red stuff out, which is 45%. So you are left, which is about 2.25 liters out of 5. So you are left with plasma, which is 2.75. That's basic physiology. I think you should know all of it. Now if I take the yellow stuff out of it, what is the yellow stuff? Anybody? What is the yellow stuff in plasma?
White blood cells.
It's the protein. It's the protein. If you take protein out, what is left? Serum. Now, you know serum, it just doesn't come to you at the moment. If you make a cut on your body and it stops, there is a blood clot formation, and after the blood clot is formed, there is a little water around it. After a minute or two, you wipe it out. It's watery stuff. That's serum. Now, tell me, what is the composition of serum? Mostly salt and water. And it is over 2 liters. You've seen in the hospital, if you ever get intravenous given to you, and you heard of normal saline, that's sodium chloride. And that's exactly what it is. Serum is nothing but salt and water, 2 bottles, 2 liters of normal saline. So now you know the relationship of salt and water and blood volume. This is basic physiology, I think will come handy. How much? And I said 2 liters. 2 liters of normal saline. Remember the word normal saline. Why I bring up the point normal saline is isotonic. Now what does isotonic mean? Isotonic means its concentration is compatible with blood. It's isotonic. And if it becomes hypotonic, instead of sodium being 140, I make it 100, you will have problem. If I make it hypertonic, instead of sodium being 140, make it 160, you will have problem. So hypertonic, hypotonic create problem. What we have is isotonic. Please remember the word isotonic, because when we talk about why do we develop swelling, feet swell up, face swell up, the isotonicity will come to explain. Now each one that I described in the blood compartment has some function to do. Now you take the red stuff out, and the red stuff carries oxygen. We all know it. Hemoglobin carries oxygen. And that's the topic for next month. We have a hematologist going to come and talk to us. And that is the purpose of the red stuff. And the protein in the blood compartment holds the water like a sponge. So I'm going to mention situation where the blood protein is low, the water leaks out. You develop swelling. Remember that. So plasma is very important, protein is very important, and then comes the salt. The salt and water exerts pressure, and that is called hydrostatic pressure. Pressure due to protein holding is called oncotic pressure, which I'll describe to you later. So remember these. 2 liters of water, saline I already mentioned. This isotonic I mentioned. And it changes the blood volume on a day-to-day basis. For example, I had lunch just about half an hour ago. You must be wondering what I do there. I count salt. Every time I eat, I count salt. So what we ate there, if we ate everything, which I did not, lot of salt. That's about half an hour ago. You drank maybe 2-3 glasses of water. So what is your blood volume now? It's not 5 liters. It's probably 5.5 liters. If you had weighed before you ate, and now you weigh, your weight will be up by at least half a kilogram. And what is that? Not what you ate. It is salt and water. The shift of water across the various compartments, which I'll talk later, is very important. It's controlled by sodium, I mentioned already. If you eat too much sodium and with that there is water. You put the hydrostatic pressure is very high. So you push water and salt out of the blood compartment. And if you don't have protein, which is the oncotic pressure, people who are malnourished, people who have liver disease, people who lose protein in the kidney, tons of it, blood protein is down, they have swelling because their oncotic pressure has dropped. The third part, the compartment that I showed you in the middle, the membrane may be leaking. And I'll explain to you which situation we see that. So all of these things will come back a little later on. How much salt do we have in the whole body? Anybody? Any guesses?
Only 200 milligrams?
200 milligrams. Is that what you said?
No, milligrams, 2200 milligrams.
200,
No, 2200.
2200 milligrams, that means 2.2 grams. Okay, let's look at it. In a 70 kilogram person, this is standard way to look at it. 280 grams of sodium chloride. Lot of it. How much is it? 55 to 60 teaspoons. You have in your body that much salt. How much are you going to take every day? One. I'll talk about this later. You already have 50 to 60 times the amount that you should be eating every day, 50 to 60 times already in your blood, in your body. Where in the body? 70% is what I already described to you. Most of it is in the blood. Wherever there is solutions, intestines, this, that, there is salt, but most of it is in the blood. Where is the rest? 30%. It's in the bones. It's in the bones. Because if you take general cell other than the bone, the salt is very little. Remember, salt is not a feature of the cell, inside of the cell. Sodium does not go inside the cell. Its place is taken by potassium. Bone is an exception. How much water do we have? Anybody? How much water do we have in our body?
2/3 of total.
2/3? Pretty close. 60%. So if somebody weighing, again 70 kilograms, we have 42 liters of water in our body. Lot of water we have. Where is it? Most of it is in the cell, within the cell. 28 liters is inside the cell and 14 liters outside. Outside where? In the blood compartment is only 3 liters. The rest is in the space that I already described to you. So that's normal physiology. You all go for blood tests at various times. I'm sure you know what they mean. And what we do in these blood tests is check what I described to you. For example, we check the red part. the blood count. We check the sodium with chloride and potassium. We check the acid-base balance. What else? We check glucose. We must check protein. And that is what we are checking, what I described to you. What is taking place in the blood compartment, and that's what we do when we do the test. Now, we also do tests to see what the cell is doing. Organ damage, cell damage. Somebody has got a heart attack. We take a blood sample from the compartment. We check the heart damage by doing some enzymes. Similarly, we do the kidney damage by doing urea and creatinine. These are the tests. So basically what these tests that we get tell you the status of three compartments, which I already described to you. That's your normal physiology. Now the second part of my talk is how your body adapts. You take tons of salt, how your body adapts to it. You eat salt, as we did today. Where does it go? To the intestines. Here is the gut. What happens in the gut? Firstly, even before it goes into the gut, you see it. That I'm eating something which is salty. My eyesight, my vision, to look at it, immediately send a signal to the brain. Before even it goes into your intestines, it sends a signal to your brain, and that's very important. From the gut, whatever you ate, there's only one place it will go, the important things, into your blood compartment, which we already talked about. What happens in the blood compartment? All of a sudden, it was isotonic, I mentioned to you, but you add so much salt, for even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it got concentrated. So it became hypertonic. Instead of 140, now it is 150. Even for half an hour. What will that do? In the blood compartment, immediately it will send a signal to your brain, and you end up drinking water, as we did today. This is normal. What else brain does? Brain does, you know, there is a hormone which controls how much you pee. You know what that is? ADH. What does ADH stand for? A for anti, against. Diuretic means pee. So you don't pee. That's the hormone. Because your blood is too hypertonic and the brain senses right away. What happens after that? Your blood volume now is high and it goes to the heart. And the heart has to work extra. And when it contracts, it raises your blood pressure. If you look at the mathematical calculation of blood pressure, cardiac output means how much the heart pumps, is a major determinant of blood pressure. So your blood pressure goes up with it. Here it is. So your body adapts automatically. Now where does it end? in the kidney. What does the kidney do now? Kidney has its filter more at the top, but the kidney also has a hormone, not the kidney itself, but works on the kidney. And that is hormone which either retains salt or let the salt go out. So in response to, so far, the body senses, and it does not produce the salt that retains, the hormone that retains salt. I repeat, there is a hormone in the body which retains salt, and as soon as your salt is up, your blood volume is up, the body will not produce that salt retaining hormone. So what happens? You remove extra salt and water which goes out. And that's what you want. But that wouldn't happen for 48 hours. So there is a gap. What I eat, salt, how much I eat, and how my body adapts. It takes a gap of between 24 to 48 hours. And then we are back to almost normal. That's how we adapt. But if we keep on repeating, which we do, this is our problem. We keep on repeating all our life, from childhood to till we go somewhere. We keep on eating too much salt. And what price would you go pay? Big price. You expand the blood volume, and I already mentioned that you put a stress on the heart, and I put it on red, increase your heart function. So, direct relationship, how much salt you eat, and then it affects the heart through increasing your blood volume. And I already mentioned the blood pressure goes up. And you all know what blood pressure does. It damages every part of our body. Blood vessels and organs, so that's the price we pay. This is your cardiovascular system. So you damage this. Any other problems related to excess salt that we take, not related to cardiovascular system. Certain communities around the world have high risk of cancer. More salt you eat, the more you are at risk to develop cancer. Last month we heard, we had a urologist, he said the same thing. Salt you eat more and you develop kidney stones. Now the next one, people don't attach importance to it, weight gain. We have three kinds of weight. We talked about this before. Weight due to your organs, your muscles, your bones. That doesn't change. The second weight is due to fat. The third kind of weight is what we just talked about for the last half an hour, due to salt and water. You retain salt, you retain water. But there is one side to it. You also gain true weight with salt. How? Anybody? If you keep eating today's food, which is salty, is tasty, is wonderful,